Hey everyone, my name is Sara-Dawn and welcome back to another episode of Friday Night Frights. This is the Halloween edition special episode of Friday Night Frights, so it's going to be a little bit longer than the average episode and it's going to cover one topic with like a few subtopics. This is my Halloween makeup look this year. I did film the process of doing this, but that video will actually come out after this video because today's Friday and I probably won't post that one till closer to Halloween. But you can see how to do this makeup look once I post it. This episode is going to cover 5 horror movies that are based on a true story. So, let's get right into the spooks. The Exorcism of Emily Rose came out in September 2005, and I myself have seen it multiple times. This movie actually follows the court case of a reverend who performed an exorcism on Emily Rose, and she died as a result. The movie goes back and forth between the court case and showing the story of how Emily Rose became possessed and eventually exorcised and then passing away. In the movie, the Reverend and Emily's family believe she's possessed by a demon that needs to be exorcised out of her, where others argue that Emily was possibly schizophrenic and needed medical attention. This movie is very scary and jumpy, and I recommend it for any paranormal horror movie fan. It also keeps you guessing to the very end whether Emily was possessed by a demon or if she had schizophrenia. This movie is actually based on a woman named Anneliese Michel, a German woman who actually died during an exorcism in Germany. The true events took place in 1976 when Anneliese was only 23 years old. Unlike Emily Rose in the movie, Anneliese actually had been diagnosed with multiple mental illnesses. However, Anneliese's family, being extremely Christian, believed that she was possessed by a demon rather than having a mental illness, and they sought help from the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church approved performing an exorcism on Anneliese. Priest Ernst Alt performed over 67 exorcisms in the run of 10 months, because sometimes it takes multiple exorcisms to get rid of a demon. The final exorcism took place on July 1st, 1976. This final exorcism resulted in Anneliese's death. An autopsy showed she probably died of dehydration and malnutrition, weighing only 68 pounds at the time of her death. There was also an extensive amount of body trauma caused to her body caused by the exorcism. The Catholic Church, more specifically the priests that performed the exorcism, were taken to court with the belief that if Anneliese had have received medical attention, she would have lived. In the church's defense, they presented a bunch of audio tapes to the court, and the audio tapes were actually of Anneliese's exorcisms. They claimed that in them she spoke tongue and Latin and said things that she couldn't possibly know, and they presented these as evidence that she was in fact possessed by a demon. These audio tapes are actually available online, but be warned, you may not sleep after listening to them. In the tape, Anneliese herself claims that she is possessed by many demons and begins to name them. But the prosecution argued that Anneliese's mental illness and the feeling of being tortured during these exorcisms could have led her to say these things. The church and Anneliese's parents were found guilty of negligent manslaughter. This court case made history, and Anneliese's story has been shared around the world. Her case also made it extremely hard for churches to approve exorcisms, as both the church and medical professionals did not want anybody else to die as the result of an exorcism. The Strangers is a movie that came out in 2008, and it follows a young couple as they go on vacation to get a weekend away. During their stay at their vacation home, 3 strangers show up to the house and begin to physically and mentally torture the couple. The 3 strangers are masked, which adds a very eerie feeling to this movie. It shows the couple struggle as they try to get away from their masked torturers. This thriller not only is a little bit gory, but it's mostly just, a thriller. It keeps your heart racing till the very end of the movie. This movie did so well that they actually recently made a spin-off of it in 2018 called The Strangers Pray at Night. One of the most famous lines from this movie is when one of the victims asks the masked torturer why they're doing this to them specifically, to which the torturer replies, "Because you were home." This movie is actually extremely loosely based on something that happened to the director as a child. Brian Bertino lived in the middle of nowhere as a child, and said he specifically remembers one eerie night when he was home alone with his sister. 3 strangers knocked on Bertino's door, and when he answered the door, they asked for someone that didn't live at the house, and when Bertino told them that that person didn't live there, they turned around and walked away. However, it left him with an extremely eerie feeling. A few days later, Bertino found out that these 3 people were going to all the homes in the area and knocking on the door, and if nobody was home, they were going in and robbing all their things. Although the real events that took place are not near as scary as what happens in the movie, it is what led Bertino to creating this crazy storyline of 3 strangers preying on people in the middle of the night. In real life, the robbers robbed your home if you weren't home. But what if they came into your house because you were home? Now, this next story is so famous that I'm sure we've all heard of it, and there have been countless movies named after this house. My favorite version of this story and movie is the 2005 version called the Amityville Horror, the one with Ryan Reynolds in it. The story follows a young family that moves into a house with a dark past, one where a family member murdered all the other family members in the house. The new family quickly begins to experience paranormal hauntings in the house, and the father slowly loses his mind because of the ghosts, and the ghosts urge him to kill his family. The real story of the Amityville Horror takes place at 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, Long Island. This is a real house. On November 13th, 1974, Robert Defoe Jr. killed 6 members of his family with a shotgun inside the house, including his younger siblings who were only children. After Defoe was convicted of second-degree murder, the house was put on the market. The Lutz family bought the house in 1975 and quickly began to make claims of hauntings and poltergeist. They stated that they believed Robert Defoe Jr. had killed his whole family because the ghost had made him crazy and made him do it. The Lutz family had multiple exorcisms performed on the actual house, but they said the hauntings never ceased. The Lutz family also claimed that the ghosts were making them crazy and that they could no longer stay in the house, and they did flee one night. They ended up writing a book about their experiences in the Amityville house, and it became a bestseller, and soon the story was known all over the world. Now, there is a lot of controversy surrounding the house at 112 Ocean Avenue. Many people believe that the Lutzes bought this house purposely to say it was haunted, make a book, and make a lot of money off the story. However, other people who have stayed in the house claim that it's haunted, not just the Lutz family, so it's hard to know, but there's so much controversy around this house. Some people truly believe it's a case of fraud, where this family made up these stories to gain money, but then others believe that this is truly one of the most haunted houses in the United States. Zodiac is a 2007 film based on the true events of the Zodiac killer. It follows investigators and reporters as they try to solve the mystery of the Zodiac killer in San Francisco. In the movie, the reporter keeps getting cryptic messages sent to him supposedly by the Zodiac killer, and he's told that he must post them in the newspapers or the Zodiac killer would kill more people. This crime thriller keeps you guessing until the very end. Literally. And if you love Mark Ruffalo, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Robert Downey Jr., which who doesn't, then this movie is for you. This movie is very much based on the true story of the Zodiac killer, who to this day has never been identified. The serial killer was active from December 1968 to October 1969. His killings were based in Northern California, and he has claimed to have killed over 35 people, although only 5 of those cases have actually been confirmed. Although the Zodiac killer has never been caught, he named himself that. He had sent many letters to the Bay Area outlet newspapers claiming to call himself the Zodiac killer. And it was also in these letters that he had claimed to kill over 35 people. To be exact, he claimed to kill 37. He chose 3 different press outlets to send 1/3 of a cryptogram to each and told them that they had to post it in the newspaper. He said that if they didn't post their 1/3 part of this cryptogram, that he would kill more people. The Zodiac killer also claimed that the cryptograms contained his true identity. In 1969, Donald and Betty Hardin cracked the 408-letter cryptograms. Although the cryptograms actually did not contain the Zodiac killer's identity as he had said, it did give motive for why he was killing these people. He claimed that he was killing all these people to gain slaves in the afterlife. The case remains open to this day. Although most of the Conjuring universe is based on true events, I want to focus on the first Conjuring film. The first movie follows investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, who are real people and sadly have both passed away. In this movie, they're investigating an old farmhouse where a young family with 5 daughters live. In the movie, they uncover a sad and tragic past and show many hauntings and paranormal activity in the house. This movie absolutely terrified me the first time I watched it, and to this day, it's on my top list of scariest movies I've seen. Before watching the movie, I had already known who Ed and Lorraine Warren were, but this movie just added more eeriness to their stories. This movie has everything you look for in a good horror movie. It has everything from jump scares to first-person filming. The real-life Ed and Lorraine Warren had even done work at the real-life Amityville Horror House, which we mentioned earlier in this episode. This movie is based on a true haunting, more famously known as the Enfield haunting. The Perron family moved into the old farmhouse in Enfield with their 5 daughters in 1971. Soon after they moved in, small but unexplainable things began to happen. Objects would mysteriously disappear or be in parts of the house that they shouldn't have been. Soon the 5 young daughters claimed to experience paranormal activity in the house and even seen spirits, but they didn't feel threatened by them. As time went on though, the paranormal activity increased in the house and the Perron family decided to look at the history of the house. Before the Perrons owned the house had been owned by the same family for quite a long time through many generations. And there had been a lot of mysterious or weird deaths in the house, including drowning and hanging. One of the previous owners of the house, Bathsheba Sherman, was even claimed to have been a Satanist. The activity in the house started to become more malicious the more they looked into it, and the family became scared to live in the house. The family was even being touched by the ghosts, and one of the girls was said to have been flung off her bed by a poltergeist, and it was actually caught on camera. The family had even called the police on multiple occasions for help, but the police don't deal with the paranormal. The family believed that Bathsheba had put a curse on this house and was also possibly haunting it. Although Ed and Lorraine Warren investigated the house, there was really nothing they could do to prevent the hauntings, and many measures were taken to try and get the hauntings to stop. Many paranormal investigators caught wind of this haunted house, and it gained a lot of attention and became famous, although it is said the Perron family didn't really enjoy this type of fame. 2 years after the hauntings began, they suddenly stopped. The Perron family claims they didn't do anything significant to stop the hauntings, but they were extremely relieved when the hauntings did eventually stop. This story became the first Conjuring movie, which started a whole Conjuring universe and franchise, which is actually one of my favorite horror movie franchises of all time. Which story scared you the most? Do you believe that a few of them are true, or any of them are true? Obviously the Zodiac killer one is true. But do you believe that the paranormal ones are true? Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. I really hope you enjoyed this special Halloween episode of Friday Night Frights. If you did, please leave me a like to let me know. You can also subscribe to my channel to be updated when I upload. My name is Sara-Dawn. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on a Friday in the near future.